Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. How we doing? How we doing? Welcome to 25A Games with yours truly, where today it is truly a great day to be in the Kronoseum. So, my friends, today we gather because I want to do a little chat about the first PvP game modes we plan to bring to Kronoseum. And, you know, if you've been following the journey, we've talked about a variety of things, from the characters, right? Our first 3 characters that we're bringing to the game, the first abilities that these characters are going to have. We've talked about things like fracture anomalies, right? Today, well, I want to talk about what are the rule sets that you're actually going to be playing with. And speaking of playing, we've been playing with a pretty fun number over on Kickstarter. We're at 3,869 followers. What a nice number. It helps out tremendously. If you go to the link down below, click on Notify Me on launch as we work through our game development journey for Kronoseum. Also, quick update. We are in the final round of voting for the Kickstarter exclusive character skins. You'll find a poll where you can decide on which of the 3 categories of skins that you would like to see as part of the Kickstarter backer awards. Remember, this has been part of our Council of Heroes beta test. You guys have been voting on the ideas, the concept art, and now we're in the final round of voting. So incredibly excited to see which one ultimately ends up on the Kickstarter. And the other 2 that don't make it, I'm sure we can find ways of bringing them to Kronoseum down the road. But now let's get into today's conversation, and I figured we're gonna do things a little bit differently. I figured let's go ahead and instead of a polished PowerPoint, I thought it'd be fun to maybe show you more behind the scenes, sausage made type of look at what game design documents would look like here. And today we're gonna be talking about our first playable overview for what we're gonna showcase for Kronoseum. Now, another thing, if you've been following the journey besides watching what we've been doing here, we've been talking about, well, building a really strong vertical slice, a prototype that shows the fun of our game. And then once you prove that, then we can go to publishers, we can go to the Kickstarter to show you that, hey, look how cool our game is. We need help building up more characters, more maps, more game modes, and if we can't show the fun, well, it's kind of hard to get anyone excited, right? And, well, part of all that is, well, what's the first game modes that we're going to be playing in? Well, this is what we're going to be talking about today now. And I highly recommend, if you haven't already, make sure to watch some of the previous game dev videos that we've been making in terms of like our fracture anomalies, right? It's going to be part of the secret sauce of what we're doing with our game. Also, you know, hopefully you guys have seen our first character kits that we've already kind of, typed out. Some of them are already being put into action, such as Barricade, but we want to make sure we talk about what is the actual game modes that we're playing with. And I'm going to show you like all the text here. We're not going to read it word by word because I wanted to show you that, let's just say there's a lot that goes in with talk about the first second, the 5 seconds, 10 seconds, minute, 5 minutes, hour of what you do in a game. I still want to show you this while we talk about it in general, but here's what I could say. Starting off with our first playable overview of Kronoseum, what we imagine bringing the immediate prototype that we want to show, first and foremost, a training arena. And I'm happy to say, for those that know me and know Gary's going to be added to Kronoseum. Yeah. You thought he was useless? No. So our AI bots, whatever you want to call them, they're going to be called Gary, and we want to give you, dummies that you can beat up, test out your characters, right? So it's a training arena where you can select your character, you spawn in, you test them. All right, it's a little sandbox mode to practice with the character, master them a bit more before you head into the other game modes. And the first one that we're planning on bringing to Kronoseum is a team deathmatch. And as you guys know, it's not just going to be a simple team deathmatch, right? You guys already know the general rules of how a team deathmatch works, right? You get a kill, put a score on the board. There are the Kronoseum twists to it all, right? For example, the fracture anomalies, which will add random environment modifiers that might be modifying your damage, your speed, dropping things onto the map, giving you pickups, for example, to mix up the battles. So that way, one match doesn't feel the same exact thing as another match. So we have those flavors that make sure it feels a little bit different than a traditional team deathmatch experience here. And I'm going to show you, because right now, here's the UI logic with going into this first playable, picking the training arena, or you go and you hop into a team deathmatch, and that big circle that says play match, there's a lot of stuff that goes in there behind the scenes. So what I want to just kind of show is just, I guess, this first and foremost, with what we imagine our prototype is going to look like with the training arena, with the team deathmatch, with our fracture anomalies. The first ones that we imagine bringing are like a meteor shower, so you get big meteors that crash onto the map, and if you get hit by them, you're out, baby. Maybe Frenzy, which is going to be boosting the damage. And remember, I don't want to go too much into our Fracture Anomalies. We made a whole video dedicated on what that looks like here. But we have a variety of different Fracture Anomaly abilities that we want to bring for the modifications of a match to make sure it feels a little bit more unique. You know, you got your general rule sets, you get a kill, you get a point, and your training arenas, you get Garys, right? Okay, well, here's what we're going to do. First and foremost, I'll say the Team Deathmatch, we're also going to have like kind of unique twists to the name. So it's not just we call it Team Deathmatch, we'll maybe call it Fracture Clash, Crucible Clash, right? You got to add that spicy flair to make it fit into the Kronoseum world. And again, I just want to show kind of behind the scenes look. What does it look like, the overall user flow of joining a match? We take for granted the moment to moment when we're playing a game. You know, there's a lot of stuff that happens within the first second, minute, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, hour of when you're playing a game. And especially when you're developing the game, you need to be able to lay this out like in a blueprint. So when we start doing it in engine, you kind of go through all this logic that's required. And again, I don't think we need to go into all the specifics of joining a match, ending a match. I'll show you the stuff if you want to pause to kind of read more about it if you're interested. Our initial Team Deathmatch rules, because, well, our first build of this game is going to have 3 characters, right? Well, we're going to have a 3v3 to start. And then we also want to show the variety of team size. So maybe we'll do a 6v6 where we'll have duplicates on a team, so you have 2 barricades on a team, for example. But we want to show kind of how the dynamic changes depending on how big the teams are going to be, right? You got your scoring thing. We don't need to go too much into details on all these things. But again, look at all the stuff that goes behind seeing a simple team deathmatch that to us seems simple, but there's a lot of stuff that goes behind these rule sets, right? Respawns. What do respawn points look like? What about bots? Let's say the lobby's not full. Well, all right, how do we get bots in? What do they do? Well, here we go. We got explanations for that. The team deathmatch is going to be our first game mode because it's a great way of showing the fracture anomalies, the character combo abilities, right? The game's not just about get a kill and you're done. How you get the kills, how the match feels like, that's the magic we want to make sure we show. But we got other things, for example, maybe like a capture the flag, critical time fracture, right? CTF, critical time fracture, get it? Point controls, right? So for example, headquarters domination, you play Call of Duty, having game modes like that. And although these game modes will make an appearance, the second game mode that I want to have, we're calling it an MVP stretch goal, right? Is going to be, I'm still bouncing around the name, Fracture Duel or Eclipse Duel. It sounds a bit more, sounds a bit more mystical if you call it that. Where essentially it's a 1v1. And if I can try to sell this to you guys right now in a very like elevator pitch style, imagine like Mortal Kombat mixed with the Fortnite Storm. You know, the ring that closes in on you. That's the quickest way I can explain this. But we'll go in a bit more detail because this is what I'm really excited to show. And again, it's going to show the variety of gameplay, you know, from 6v6, 3v3, all the different game modes there, and then a 1v1 style setup. We imagine there's going to be different type of match rules, right? But a Fracture Duel, the Eclipse Duel, you know, TBD on the name. The name's probably going to change. It's going to be a stretch goal for our MVP, minimum viable product, for those that don't know. This is a mirror match 1v1 game that will play out over 3 rounds. The maps for this mode will need to be more focused and purpose-built to support engagement and deter camping. Likely for the immediate future, especially during this prototyping slice phase that we're building out for the game, we'll probably reuse our first map, Ashen Crossroads. And I think this would be a lot of fun because one way that we're imagining making sure we get the most out of Ashen Crossroads is, let's say, for example, round 1, we're going to talk a bit more about the specifics here. Round 1, let's say you start here in the center of the map. After round 1's done, you teleport to a different part of the map. So let's say, you know, as you guys know, there's a subway that goes underneath. Round 2 will take place underneath the subway. So you're kind of doing all these like quick matches, teleporting on different parts of the map, right? And let's go in a bit more in detail about some of those things here. So we imagine, let's say, if you just want to do a casual rule set, 3 random unique characters will be assigned to the players in each round. Doing a mirror match because we want to make sure that people are on equal footing with the characters they use, right? And then you kind of do like a barricade mirror match or a Hoshido mirror match, right? So it comes down to who can master these characters the best, rather than just bringing the counter. It's kind of like Pokemon, right? If you know that your enemy's bringing a water type, you just front load all your electric Pokemon, right? It's kind of like that. We want to make sure people are on the same footing, and it comes down to raw skill with how you master these characters, right? In a mirror match. Maybe in a ranked tournament situation, everyone's going to kind of pick their favorite characters, and then each player will take turns banning a character from the other player list. So let's say, for example, we have our 3 characters, right? And you're like, man, I'm really good at Barricade, right? So I want to make sure I put Barricade in. And then what if your opponent bans it? It's like, oh, shoot, now I got to use the other 2 characters. So it makes it interesting. It's kind of like a draft mode. And especially when you imagine down the road where we have like maybe like, you know, 10, 15, 20 characters, it'll get interesting when you have a big roster of characters to play through. Your win conditions, think of Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter. The winner of the match will have to win at least 2 of the 3 matches. And then players can win by defeating their opponent or by having dealt the most damage to their enemy when the time limit has run out. And again, we have like a 5-minute timer. I wouldn't look too much at the specifics of like time and, all these like scores, because that's going to change when you get in and you start play tests. It's like, all right, 5 minutes feels too long, and you can kind of or maybe too short potentially. And then we want to also kind of bring in, how Mortal Kombat's got round 1, round 2. We want to make sure we bring in something like that as well, because that's part of the fun that made Mortal Kombat special, hearing that voice. So we got to work on our voice acting skills. Or who knows, maybe we can get someone to maybe help us out with that part of it all. And then another special flair that we're planning to bring, anomalies, but kind of a new degree with this. As you guys know, we talked about the fracture anomalies, right? How there's going to be different modifiers for the environment drop, objects to drop in that you can pick up, for example. Well, this is where that Fortnite element kind of comes in. Battle Royale, let's say, because it's not exclusive to Fortnite. In here, what's going to happen? Let's just go. I have a really cool graphic, right? Mock-up, let's just say. I don't know if it's much of a graphic. It kind of gets the point across ASAP. You can see you're in like the full area of the map, right? Well, to make sure people are going to be forced to engage with one another, after so much time, right now you see 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, the timing could change. It's going to close the ring on you, right? And it's going to kind of force the players to get closer and closer and closer to one another here, right? So let's just kind of read how this works here. The map will need to be relatively small, designed to support 1v1 game mode, and also maybe a 2v2. I'm jumping the gun here. I think that'd be fun. Like, what if, I imagine me and my brother, right? We're big VR fans, like the lobby up together. It's like, hey, let's go for a 2v2 type of action. So again, it's crazy just by going from like a 1v1 to a 6v6, how much drastically the gameplay can change, right? And what would be really fun, kind of like as the ring is closing in, imagine like the map is falling apart, right? So, instead of maybe just the ring, maybe the map collapses, because again, the Kronoseum, it's a chaotic world that you're in. And as the map collapses, it kind of forces you to go into a closer and closer combat zone. So these are like the first game modes that we imagine are coming with Team Deathmatch, the training arena. Fracture will be kind of a stretch goal. Then we have those other game modes like Capture the Flag, for example, the control points. A lot of other things that, I'll give you some like teaser on like other experimental things. If you guys watched the video where I went and tested out some of the abilities for Barricade, right? The portal, for example. And I had this little ball that I was hitting around. I was like, man, wouldn't it be fun if we had like a Rocket League, soccer, basketball type of game mode where you have teams, you got to score points in the other team's basket or goal. So it's kind of like, it's sort of in a way inverse Capture the Flag in a way. You want to shoot the ball in their goal. I think that'd be fun, right? But that's more experimental. We want to make sure to focus on getting the characters built, the core game modes, the maps that we have initially as well. But man, I am super excited to bring these game modes, because they're not just the vanilla game modes. It's these game modes with the Kronoseum twist on it. And I love 1v1, 2v2 type ideas. So it's kind of, this Kronoseum's kind of a blank canvas to do a lot of awesome game modes, in my opinion. But that's all I got for you today. Wanted to kind of give you guys a behind the scenes look as to what we're doing with the game rules now that you've seen the characters, the fracture, anomalies, and whatnot. And I can't wait to start bringing these to life for you guys to check out and ultimately getting your hands down the road. So everyone, thank you so much for stopping by today for this Kronoseum devlog that we have today. If you haven't already, link to the Kickstarter page helps out tremendously if you follow as we move our way to 2026. Really, I can't put it into words how helpful it is that follow this early in our journey. And make sure you check out the poll so you can vote on your final Kickstarter skins. Thank you all so much for stopping by. Every video we make, the dream of Kronoseum becomes realer and realer and realer. And I'm so happy to share this experience with all of you guys. Thank you for stopping by. And always remember, it's great to be in the Kronoseum today.